Charles, you 20 year, you in the easy Air Force.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
I was in the Cold War Air Force. See, so you was even more country club than me.
all right.
We both was country club. Now that's real.
Yeah. You right about that.
The only force is the Air Force. Come on now.
That's true. One team, one fight.
Here we go. Hey, man. Y'all got your own little stuff.
In your 20 years, did you ever sleep on the ground?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't in 10 years.
You didn't?
Never touched the ground.
Really?
Never.
Not an airport or nothing?
Nothing. We were on parking lots, but we always had our little cots and stuff. We never went no bivouacking, never was at nothing.
Oh, wow.
And the army folks hated us.
Welcome back to the No Referees Podcast. I'm your host, Evarist and Charles, bringing you another quarantine edition of our show. As always, you can find us on our social media pages at No Referees Pod and on our new YouTube channel, No Referees Podcast. Joining me today, my special guest co-host, 20-year United States Air Force veteran, Master Sergeant Charles Akujobi. Appreciate you joining us, sir. Thank you for your service.
What's going on, brother? I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Our esteemed, very special guest today is the founder of Katalyst series. He's an author, speaker, instigator of change and inspiration. You can find him on social media everywhere at KC Katalyst. The man that tells you peace and play.
All day, every day.
Mr. Kevin Carroll. How's it going, brother?
I'm good. I didn't know I was in the midst of a master sergeancy, so I have to give him his respect that way. I left as a staff sergeant. My uncle was a chief though, bruh.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a chief. Right. Yeah, so
let you tell him behind closed doors. Charles swear he a two-time chief.
Yeah, I'm a baby chief. I think I'm a chief sometimes until they put me in check. You know how it is.
Oh, absolutely. That's how that works. We know who the real chief is.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Carroll, appreciate you joining our show, brother. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, but before we get into your history background, I got a little surprise for you. You know what I'm saying? I got a little surprise for you. I know you're a Philly fan.
Why? I'm hanging up now. I think we're having technical difficulties.
What's up?
What happened? Where'd he go?
How about those Eagles,
Ain't no way.
How about the Eagles, man?
Listen, I need to burn some sage now. You done brought in some vampire stuff in here when you got some cowboy gear on.
Hey, Master Sergeant Charles over there, he got the cowboy blue on.
I got the cowboy blue. I got the Dak jersey up there, man. I'm trying to take it easy on you today, though.
This is gonna be This is gonna be your shortest episode. Thank you very much for tuning in.
God bless you. Good night. Thank you for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
Deuces. Yes. Good Lord. Cowboy fan. But I will say one of my dearest friends in Philly, he is a Cowboys fan, which is crazy. We worked at the Sixers together, and he loves the Cowboys. So when the Eagles and the Cowboys would play, he would wear his cowboy jersey, in the arena, right? And take all bets. He would always do it, right? And Al was unapologetic about his love for the Cowboys. And he does it, just in front of everybody in Philly. He does not care.
Yeah, so that's my boy right there. Hey, Al, what's up, Al?
That's my boy, Blue. My boy, Al.
Yeah, Al Lumpkin. I tell you, that's my man's, though. Except on them Sundays when we playing them NFC East, nope, can't do it.
Well, Mr. Carroll, we're gonna get into the Cowboys. We're gonna get into Philly. Well, I got a couple of friends from Philly that I went to grad school with, and I got a couple of questions, to test your Philly-ness. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
but first, we got a lot of issues in the world today with a lot of social injustice things going on. All three of us on this call are fathers of young black men in America, And I just want to just get your take on as an OG. You know, what's your thoughts on things going on right now?
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Been dealing with this for a long, long time, and yeah, I'm the youngest old head you'll meet, but I know that it's real and it's challenging. And you know, my son actually called me when I was maybe at the beginning of the week, and he said, "Dad, I was talking to my kids about the time you told us you got chased by the Klan when you were going to school in Tennessee." And he said his son said, "Well, what if they had caught him?" And my son said, "Then I wouldn't be here." He said, "I wouldn't have been born." And he said his son just like paused and went, "Well, how'd he get away?" And he said, "My dad has always been really clever and he just found a way." And he said, "Dad, it just came back to mind." He said, "I know you don't talk about it a lot and all the things that you had to deal with growing up. And I'm a child of the 60s. So, I mean, I've seen it all and dealt with it all." And I just did a talk and I said, it's exhausting to be seen as a menace every day. No matter how much success you've had, it's exhausting. And I try to explain that to my white friends, and it takes them aback when I say that to them, because they look at me like, "Well, all your success and all." I said, "But it doesn't matter at the end of the day. If someone sees me through that lens, it's easy to equate me to something to fear." And I'm not big, I'm not imposing, but it's just the hue of my skin can make someone fear me. And so to know that that is something that has bubbled up to this level is not surprising to me. And, you know, what did Dr. Martin Luther King said, a riot is, you know, the language of the unheard. And so I'm not surprised by it. What I will be most acutely paying attention to is where you at in September? Where you at in November? Where you at in January 2021 with all your hashtags and slogans and promises? That's what I'm waiting for.
I think that I'm waiting on that too, because how you just said that, I was just going to ask you, is this times a moment or is this a movement?
I got a wait and see attitude. I honestly do. Because I've been around it enough. The outrage has been, you know, generations. So there have been lots of flashpoint moments. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, all of a sudden everybody want to give reparations now? Everybody want to, like, right? I mean, come on. We're giving scholarships. We're doing this. Come on. Seriously?
Have you had, I know I've had at least 2 or 3 of my close white friends hit me and say, you know, what can I do? You know, how can I help? You know, what is the, you know, what are the solutions I can do? You know, and I really don't, it's almost to me like you see people posting, you know, different books they can read and different things, you know, movies they can watch. But I feel like, you know, you just got to use your white privilege. I hate to say it, you got to speak out. You know, one of my friends is an athletic director at a college in Boston, and he asked me, he was like, "Yo, what can I do? I can't really say much." And I said, "Man, I really can't give you the answer."
No, that's true. I mean, it's not one answer to tell them how to be a good ally. I've been telling people, do stuff not for attention, right? Do what you do exceptionally well and do it when nobody's watching to assist in this. But if you posting, right, and wanting attention, then that's not from the right point of view, right? That's not the intention. That's not the right intention. And I'm skeptical. I just am, right? I'm hopeful. And what did I say? I'm going to be, you know, cautiously optimistic about it. I just am. And I just think it's because I've seen enough of these kinds of moments. I don't know if y'all seen 846 with Dave Chappelle. If you haven't, what? That man is a genius. Just watch it. Watch it. That's all I'm going to say. It is must see. Have you seen it, Charles?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm
You need
definitely
to watch it. You need to watch
I haven't seen it either.
It will
definitely gonna watch that.
It's genius. And it's his only statement that he has made. So he stayed quiet until he decided it was the appropriate time to say something. But he even explains why he stayed quiet. And Dave Chappelle is a verbal gymnast, right? He's just brilliant with the way he uses words. It's one of the, I would say it is the seminal effort of his career. It's that good.
So, Mr. Carroll, so you bring up, you're an old military guy, right? And in these times, the military is more about diversity and inclusion and everybody being equal. Talk a little bit about your experience when you first came in. Was it like that back then? Or did you have to struggle or work a little harder than your counterparts to get noticed?
So my grandparents raised me and my two brothers. So my grandfather would always say, you got to be 2 to 5 times better, right? He wouldn't say 2 times. He said 2 to 5 times better, right? Just depending on the situation, how you had to raise your game. But you said you got to be better. So I'm a post-Vietnam military member. So I came in 1980. So that's just 3 years after the end, right? When we were getting out of Vietnam. So it was a very different military. Right? They still putting their hands on you, right? When you're basic, right? So
Yeah.
You better straighten up and act right, right? Yep. So in 1980, my drill instructors, they hadn't been instructed. They couldn't really tighten you up the way they used to.
Absolutely.
But they would be like shaking. They want to put their hands on you so badly, right? So that's the difference right there. Mm-hmm. They getting their cell phones. They're not even taking them from them now.
That's true. That is true.
You have your cell phone in basic training. I still remember 3708 flight 121, bro. I know where I was at in BMTS. To this day, Staff Sergeant Spear, Staff Sergeant Aguayo. Those were my DIs, right? Yep. It was a very different military because it's post-Vietnam. So you have a lot of people coming out of the war who are now not fighting, but they're still fighting a war. You have people coming into the military that are having to deal with those leaders. And the military was still very segregated in its own way. And I was fortunate because they identified my language ability. So I was placed in a really small percentage of individuals in the military. So I was a 208, Charles. So I was a linguist, right? So
you was one of those smart guys.
Yes,
absolutely.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about. I went to Monterey to the Defense Language Institute twice for 2 different schoolings. Went to Goodfellow Air Force Base. I ended my career teaching there as an ATC, and I was at NSA. I had top secret clearance. I worked overseas over in Germany. So I had a very different experience from a lot of people in the Air Force because of my AFSC. But, it was still when we would go, from our job onto the base, you would see it all the time, right? There was a lot of tension. We're still in Germany, very different there. So I think this moment with the military, diversity, inclusion, equity, all these things are being espoused, but you still got an old attitude and traditions that still are there, even if they're not visible. So it's always going to be a bit of a challenge because the way the military started off segregating. So I think there's always going to be a bit of that challenge. But I always tell people, I grew up in the Air Force. I learned how to be a leader without having size or presence that way. I learned a lot of things. I learned, going through all of the leadership training schools and all the things that you have to do. All those things were invaluable for me. And so I grew up in the Air Force. I absolutely did. And I tell people that I loved my time in the Air Force. And I actually would have stayed for 20, but because I did bootstrap too, Charles. So you'll know.
Oh, did you?
Yes,
Yeah, you did bootstrap.
Yeah. So look,
you got out and took advantage
Everest
of it.
Everest is getting a little salty right now.
No, I'm good. Hey, this is great. And Charles knows this, that actually, I tried to go into the Air Force a year. Charles went in 2000, and I tried to go in right after him, but I couldn't get in at that time because of this.
Oh
asthma,
yeah. You can't do that with that.
We're from Arlington, and I went downtown Dallas to the MEPS. Did the whole nonsense. Stayed in that little hotel room and got the little break and all that kind of stuff. And actually, prior to that, because my junior year, Charles' senior year, we were in Air Force ROTC. So
we were in JROTC.
JROTC.
Oh yeah, junior.
So I have my mind made up that I was basically gonna follow in his footsteps, but my asthma is the worst of the worst. Chronic asthmatic scale of 1 to 10. I'm a 20.
So they wouldn't. They wouldn't let you then.
Yeah. So at that time, and then once I found out more, through the inside birds, I could have kept my inhaler on me. They can't touch you at that particular time.
Right. Yeah.
But I couldn't get through the testing. So, but anyway, I just wanted to ask, kind of go back a little bit further to Philly. We know about Philly. North Philly, South Philly, Southwest Philly. There's a lot of stories that you've mentioned on your show, talking about the PB&J with Norman, the wino races, things of that nature. Really fun, really funny stories that you have. Just want to tell people, what is it like, being from Philly? You grew up, like you said, back in the day when there was a different world than this today. Just talk about the Philadelphia and what it's like being from there.
So there's a saying, I'm not angry, I'm from Philly. So that's the way we break it down. There you go. So that sums it up right there, right? I'm not angry, I'm from Philly. So I just think that, that city, and it's kind of interesting because I split time. My Aunt Sandy and my Uncle Bobby. My Uncle Bobby's the Air Force person. So that's who I got my Air Force thing from. He's a career Air Force. He's a double dipper, right? So he did that, and he did the GS. So he's a double dipper.
Oh yeah, so he's good then. He's what we call a 2-checker.
Oh yes, he is. Oh yes, he is.
If you get disability, he's a 3-checker.
I think he is. I think he got the triple. I think he got the trifecta for sure. So my uncle Bobby lived in West Philly, and my grandparents who raised us lived out in Bryn Mawr, which is like maybe 15 minutes from where they lived. So the main line is where my grandfather bought a home after World War II, and they called these houses the day help houses. So they literally were a square block, and they were right by the trolley, and literally the day help would get off the trolley and go to the estates and take care of the children, the landscaping, the cooking, the cleaning of all these wealthy people on the main line. My grandfather lived in this modest neighborhood on the main line. But what happened was you could go to the schools with all these wealthy kids, but they saw your address and they literally would say, oh, you're from that address, that zip code, you're going to Votech because you're going to be a laborer. So you had to actually fight to get college prep. And my grandparents taught me very early that anything you want, because where we live, they've already decided what you're going to be. You have to buck that. So growing up in that neighborhood and in that area, and there were all little neighborhoods like that, all along the trolley tracks. Every stop, there was another neighborhood like ours. So what we started to understand was in a school of 2,500 students, when I went to high school, 10th through 12th grade, there were only 50 kids of color, 50 black kids out of 2,500, right? And this is in the 70s. So dude, I ran home a lot.
Wow.
Got chased a lot. Would look at the clock and say, we ain't supposed to be over here. We need to get back. A lot. But what I started to understand was that's also what helped to shape me. So growing up in Philly, in the suburbs, right? And then going to my Aunt Sandy and my Uncle Bobby's down in West Philly. That's where I would get my haircuts, right? Every Friday. That was that Fresh Cut Fridays on Felton Street.
Yeah,
Fresh Fridays on Felton Street. Yes, so that would be my other education, running around with the kids on the block there and in the neighborhood. So I had to shape shift. So I literally had to be one way in one neighborhood and another way when I would go down there. And I learned this art of blending and becoming and belonging very early in my life. But I can tell you this about Philadelphia. It's a city of competitors. People compete there. And I think that got poured into me along with my gift of word by going to my remember that I told you I was raised Baptopalian, right?
Yeah,
Baptist and Episcopalian, right?
Yeah.
So my grandfather's church was Mount Carmel Baptist Church in the city, and my grandmother's church was St. Mary's Episcopal Church out in the burbs. So I always tell people I can go to church and I can go to church, right? So so I think, I had a really, eclectic, unusual childhood, but once again, it helped to shape so much of me, and being in that city and watching the things that I watched and witnessing the things that I witnessed, really helped me. But, to boil it down, I'm not angry. I'm from Philly.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Mr. Carroll, let's talk a little bit about the Air Force core values, right? I don't know if y'all had these back then, but the core values now are integrity, service before self, and excellent in all we do. Now,
still the same ones.
Still the same ones.
Still the same ones.
Wow. Now, how have you instilled that in your journey after the military? When you going to handling everybody and all the professional athletes, how have you translated that into your journey?
Oh, I think those became a part of my core beliefs and values, for sure. Once again, when I went in the Air Force, I was 20. So those were formative years, right? So from 20 to 30, if you're living that platform of values, you're going to take a lot of that in. But I also have my grandparents' values. So that skips a generation. My grandparents are of the greatest generation, right? So they've been through it, right? A world war, depression, right? And then to come out, and the civil rights. So I have that. It skips over my parents. I have their values. Then you put the Air Force, you layer that on top of it. That's going to come with me when I'm in a locker room, when I'm in a business room, when I'm in a conference room, when I'm doing one-on-ones. I'm showing up with that, and their voices are in my ear, right? Selflessness, excellence, show up. Remember what you're repping. Remember what you're repping, right? And so I think a lot of those things, those are undeniable truths that you hold on to. And I think they've served me really well in locker rooms, conference rooms, boardrooms, one-on-ones, leading teams, all of that. I think they've been invaluable. And the more that I start to understand the importance of, what is that? If you don't believe in something, you will fall for anything.
Right.
And so I'm a firm believer in that. And so you need that foundational piece. And I think everybody should have, those values. But then what are your values in action, right? How are you actually living them out, right? And demonstrating them and embodying them on a regular basis. That's what I try to do on the regular.
I got a question that's staying right there on the regular, because you talk about your upbringing with your grandparents. And one thing that I like that you said in one of your clips was, which is one of the guys I used to work with too, Avery Johnson. The doing the lonely work.
The little general.
Yeah, doing the lonely work. And I feel like, because I'm a strength and conditioning coach by trade. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for 15 years. I worked in the NBA for 4 years, overseas for 4 years, college for 7 years. So when I found out about Mr. Carroll, I was like, man, we have so many parallels with your story. My brother being in the Air Force. I used to work for Nike Town in New York City when I was in grad school. So it's just so many things. That's why I reached out to you. And just that mentality, like how you said, doing the lonely work. I've been there. I've cleaned the windows in the weight room, mopped the floor. You get things that go unnoticed. How are some of those values that you have doing the quote unquote lonely work growing up that you instilled in some of the principles that you have today as well?
So, the belief that hard work never goes unrewarded, right? That's that conversation from Avery. He said that to me. And so that's a fact. Hashtag fact, right? So
right?
Facts. Hard work never goes unrewarded, and you have to be willing to do the lonely work. It's unglamorous, right? And not everybody's willing to roll their sleeves up. Now, you want to talk about where I learned that? in the Air Force, right? Because everybody had an AFSC and you had a secondary job, right, Charles?
Oh yeah.
Everybody had to have a secondary job. If the base is getting run over, everybody got to do the other job.
Yep.
So you learn that, right?
What was your secondary job? Mr. Carroll?
Mine?
Yeah.
I had to clean off the runways or the air base. I'm driving a 2.5, bruh. I'm driving a 2.5.
Speaking a different language.
Probably cussing in that language. When I had to do my trainings, right? I could barely reach the pedal. I'm like, dang, can't see nothing out here, right? And I'm trying to plow. What am I doing out here? I'm chilling in this bunker, right? Listening to stuff on headphones, and now you got me out here training day. Come on, man. So that was my job. There you go. That was my job. I was doing the 2.5 ton, bro. You know what I'm talking about,
2.5 ton. Oh yeah. See, I'm a personnelist by trade. Shout out to all the personnelists, AFPC. Shout out. And so my secondary job, they put me on the gate, being the gate guard. We're used to working 8 hours, 8 hours, and that's it.
That's not what they do.
I'll tell you, 12-hour shifts.
Yes, sir.
An hour early to arm up, an hour behind the D-arm.
Come on
now. So we talking about 14 hours.
14 hours.
Like, oh, no. Absolutely not.
Right? And we hated when we had to do trainings, right? When you had to do that training. What was that thing they say? Practice in peace what you will do in war.
Oh, yep. Train how you fight. Yeah. We still do that till this day.
Let me take a time out to tell you about my friends over at Soul Lounge, Houston's premier boutique for the latest fashions. Chinatown Market? Check. BBC? You know they got all that. You know Adidas? Man, they got all of that stuff too. The swag, the footwear, Yeezys, man, they got everything. No Referees Podcast and Soul Lounge has partnered up to bring you a special offer for listening to this episode. Go online to soulloungehtx.com and enter promo code NORULES to get 20% off your entire purchase. That's no rules. All one word, all caps. Soul Lounge. Live what you love.
All right, so everybody knows, right? When you first pull up at Lackland Air Force Base, whoop, you had this idea in your head how it's going to be, but when you get off that bus, it's something totally different. So take us through that first thing that went to your head when you got to Lackland and you got off that bus.
I still see those white footprints. Get your feet on them footprints. Get your feet on the footprints.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this dude yelling at me?
Right.
Yelling at me? I'm coming there from Philly. It's my first time ever flying. Right. I'd never been on a plane. Right. So we land, we get off the bus, and they yelling. Of course, it's the middle of the night. Right. And they barking at you, and they giving you up. Get your feet on the footprints. Get your feet on the footprints. Where are you from? Sir, I'm from Philadelphia. You come all the way from Philadelphia just to piss me off. Right? I'm like, why this man talking to me like this? You eyeballing me? I'm like, who are these people? Right?
Oh, yeah.
My uncle had warned me enough, though. Right? He gave me all the unlocks, like all these unlocks. He said, your first base pass, go to the BX, buy all the stuff they issue you. Put it in your locker and don't ever touch your locker. Put everything else in your laundry bag. Put a towel over it. Live out your laundry bag. Come on, Charles.
Oh, wow.
That must be a hack you didn't know,
Charles. Your uncle saved you about 4 or 5 weeks of misery.
Charles.
to your
Hold on.
Charles.
I don't know. I don't know the
Zero
language.
demerits. Zero demerits.
Hold on.
I was doing people's lockers and making bank.
So hold on.
Wasn't telling them how I had a perfect locker though.
So hold on. I don't know the inside story. So it must be something to do with perfect, like you said, perfect locker. Tell me the inside story to that.
6 inches.
Yeah,
6 inches. So everything had to be 6 inches, right?
Absolutely.
Crazy. And they teach you how to fold your things. And then everything had to be set in the locker a very specific way. 6 inches. They measured it with a ruler, right? Toothbrush, couldn't have any toothpaste and all that. So I had everything brand new and I never touched it.
Wow.
I had everything in my laundry bag. Wait, I got tape, popped the cap off the end post, taped it in there, my toothbrush, bruh.
Wow.
Wow. And I would always get up like 15 minutes before everybody else so they couldn't see what I was doing.
Wow.
And I get my stuff out of the laundry bag, get my toothbrush, be in the latrine doing my thing, right? Everybody else would be getting up. Be like, Carol, you're up? Yeah, man, I'm up.
You already up? Wait, did y'all used to sound Reveille?
Yes, I was up before Reveille. And I was dorm chief by now.
Oh, wow.
So I started off house mouse. Remember that role? So I was the admin. House mouse is the admin, Evarist, right? So I was the house mouse. Our dorm chiefs were terrible. They fired 4 of them, right?
Wow.
And the drill instructor called me in and said, you got to be dorm chief, Carol. I'm like, nope. I like my job. I don't want it. He said, you got to be dorm chief. I'm like, nope. I don't want that job. They won't listen to me. He said, you don't have to yell. You lead by your presence. And that was the first time I ever had a leadership position. He said, you lead by example. He said, I'll yell for you. Write them up, and I'll yell for you. So wait, so when they say, he's reaching for his pen, that's what they would always say. He's reaching for his pen. I would get, write you up.
Write you up. Write a 341. Would you like to have 341s back there?
Come on, man.
341. Well,
341. Write you up.
Write you up. So I have to answer for it later.
Yes, absolutely.
So I got a question for you, Mr. Carroll. We want to get back on track because I feel like y'all could. I feel like y'all could do this shit all day.
Yes. This is a problem. This is a. We are a problem. We are a problem.
Look, I wanted Charles to come on because he had that experience, but now I'm like, man, let me find this close the meeting out. In one of your videos that I know me and Charles, we used to go back and forth about this all the time growing up in Texas, the wino races that you talked about. And one thing in particular, Charles will notice when I said it, you mentioned the MD 2020. You mentioned the night train. You mentioned the OE. You mentioned the
I hit them all, right?
You hit them all. And then
that's how you know. That's how you know you from the way when you say that.
Right. So like me and Charles, we would go get our little MD 2020 back in the day. We used to get our little night train back in the day. Peach.
Right. The ADO, the Thunder Chicken. Some of that Thunder Chicken.
Right. Yeah.
Thunder Chicken. Right. That Wild Irish Rose. Some of that Wild Irish Rose. That's all that top shelf wine, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you when we talked about the wino races. Give me an experience where you had another wino race. But once you got into the NBA, and then we're gonna start talking about the NBA experience because as I know, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you see, and guys will wino their stuff out of the league or wino their stuff in like so. Without naming no names, give me some stuff that you see behind the scenes when you was the first wino race in the NBA.
Man, listen, that is controlled chaos at that level. It just is. I mean, you have wealthy young men with time on their hands. They're gonna get in trouble. They're gonna do things, and when I was in the league, that's the 90s. It's not like what it is now. Not at all, right? It was still the Wild Wild West with a lot of things. Right. So I think one of the things that took me aback was athletes having their friends come hang out or meet them on the road, and then it was on. And the main places, Atlanta, Miami, LA, they would always bring their friends. right? Atlanta, because they always, you know, Atlanta had, what was the name of that? There was a club in Atlanta, right?
Blue Flame or something like that.
Oh, I can't, man, why can't
Is it Magic City?
Magic City.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. You said it. I did it, which means I never went, but you might have.
You heard all the rap songs.
Yeah,
but Magic City, right? They would come for that. And Miami, I mean, it's Miami, right? So, and LA. So one of the things that was really crazy was the coaches would try to manage, right, how much free time they had or whatever, but it was impossible because those cities, you could go out any time of night. So it didn't matter how busy you kept them. They would go out at 1 and 2 in the morning. But the craziest thing that would happen, and I had to basically create a rule about this, if you were calling me for condoms, because I kept the condoms, if you were calling me for condoms, they were free till 11 p.m. They were $100 each after 11. Because you're asking me to get up and bring them to you. There was a delivery fee on top of it.
Inflation.
How many kids you put through school on that delivery
there was some $1,000 nights there. There was some $1,000 nights there. Wait, but that's the meal money. They don't care. That meal money.
Per diem money.
Like, yeah, take what I'm gonna do with this little bit of money.
So,
right? I mean, I think that's the way it was.
I was in charge of the condom bag too.
You know?
Yeah. So it's crazy that you said
you didn't charge enough. You didn't charge enough.
I was only at, but see, my position was I wasn't the head strength coach. I wasn't the assistant strength coach. I was an intern. So I was alone out until the.
You didn't have no flex.
Yeah, they had no flex. Right. I wasn't Kevin Carroll. I wasn't Keith Jones. I wasn't Will Seventy. I wasn't these dudes. Yes. I wasn't the man. You know, so I basically, E, where the condoms at? All right, I got it. You know what I'm saying? It'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. Yo, or they may say, hey, what have I heard? You know, hey, I'll be back at so and so. Slide them underneath my door. Slide them underneath my door.
Slide them underneath the door.
Slide underneath the door.
Yeah.
You got the room listed with the alias names. You know.
Yes. Of course. Yes. But no. I was in charge of all the travel and everything too, right? So listen, no. If you want me to come, you know the deal. Money first. Money first. No, they try. Kev, I got no money first. Man, you drive a hard bargain. I'm like, yeah, I do. I said, it's after 11, you know the rules.
So why wouldn't the guys get themselves taken care of off the plane?
That's what I would always say. It would make me feel like I'm raising these big kids, right? Because I had to use my dad voice a lot.
So I want to talk about how did you make that transition from your linguistics background to being an athletic trainer. I know you worked at St. Joe's. Take us how you went from Air Force, all over the world to St. Joe's to the NBA to your hometown team. How did that process even happen?
So I was doing athletic training while I was in the Air Force. So Charles will appreciate this. So I got my degree through Bootstrap in sports medicine, right? But the Houston Oilers practiced in San Angelo, where I went to school, Angelo State. Goodfellow Air Force Base is there.
Yeah, Goodfellow, yeah, absolutely.
So Warren Moon was the quarterback then. Jerry Glanville was the head coach. I was a summer intern for 3 summers.
Wow.
With the Oilers. So I already was plying my trade. My very first job when I got Texas licensure first, then I got my national athletic training license while I'm still in the Air Force, was 6-man football in Cristobal, Texas.
Wow.
So those were my first jobs. But then there happened to be like a little basketball tournament at Goodfellow, and somebody asked me to kind of take care of the players that were coming from some of the other bases around Texas. So I was there helping out the base, Goodfellow, and it was like a commander or major. Somebody went back and told somebody at the Pentagon, hey, there's this certified athletic trainer at Goodfellow. We should get him to go to the Armed Forces Sports Championships. Orders came from the Pentagon.
Wow.
Base,
wow, that's big right there.
Requesting me to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico for the Armed Forces Track and Field Championships.
Wow.
And then that created boxing, softball, basketball. So I was the only certified athletic trainer in any branch of the service.
What?
Wow.
So I got to actually work on that. I was going on Pentagon orders to all these competitions. I wasn't doing my job. And that's when I said, oh, maybe I could go to the Air Force Academy and work in the athletic training department there. And then that's when my commander on the basic Goodfellow said, no, I can't let you go. You have a top secret clearance, your languages, we spent all this money. I said, well, you paid for this degree. You knew what I was studying. All I'm saying is I'll sign up for 10 years right now.
Right.
I'll sign up for 10 more years right now if you'll let me go to the Air Force Academy. He said, no, I did a congressional inquiry.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. When you do that, so you write a note to your congressman. Your congressman has to be back in touch with you within 72 hours of a grievance. And so my commander finds out, I get called on the carpet. He said, you wrote your congressman. I said, sir, I absolutely told you I love it here. I want to stay in the Air Force. I just want to go to the Air Force Academy and use my degree. No, I'm not going to let you, but I will let you out early. He said, if you can get out processed in 1 week. Now, Charles, you know how hard.
That is tough. That's tough to do.
It's like nearly impossible, right?
It's almost impossible.
He set me up not to let it happen. I come out of his office. His admin calls me over and says, we're going to help you. Wow. She contacted all the admins on the base, and I got it done. And as I was out processing, the commander called me in and said, so you got it all done? I said, yes, sir. He says, worst decision you've ever made, leaving the Air Force. I said, you know what, sir? This is my act of defiance. Look for me on TV. I leave the Air Force in 1990.
Right.
Go back to Philly, right? Going through a divorce.
Yep. And want to regroup.
Yep. So, but my boys are back there. So I go back to Philly, get the job at 2 high schools first. Then I get the job at St. Joe's in 3 years. I'd only been out of the service 3 years. St. Joe's happens to be where the Sixers practice.
Wow.
So while my athletes, my student athletes are in college taking classes, I'm helping the Sixers in the mornings. They got to know me, and I got asked to interview when the athletic trainer was leaving and going to the Pistons. And I'm like, well, I don't really want that job because I've seen how y'all are. It's crazy. There's no way. And the head coach said it could change the network for you and your boys. And I went, I had never thought of it that way. I end up getting the job, and I had only been out of the service 5 years.
So I just want to ask a quick question. How does your commanding officer, Charles, and you can speak to this because you work in personnel and you push the paper.
Yeah.
How does you get the orders like that from the Pentagon, and then your commanding officer basically almost like kind of defies what the Pentagon say? I don't understand that.
Yeah, the commander's always in charge, and if the commander wants to keep you, he would do what he has to do to keep you. It doesn't matter what anybody says. And so that's probably what happened in your situation. Your commander knew you were valuable, you were smart, you had all this language training, you had a top secret, which is not easy to come by the way. Top secret costs thousands of dollars. Yeah, he probably just didn't want to let you go chase your dream, so to speak. So,
but that's selfish, though.
Listen, I understand it now that I'm older. He had a job to do, but he had a willing service member who said, "I'll do 10 more years right now. Give me the paper. I'll sign it right now." And then I said to him, "Isn't it about retaining people?"
Right.
Well, not in your AFSC. It's not, because you are a critical AFSC. Da 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 da. So one clarity: none of my Pentagon orders ever got canceled. Like, he always let me go. It was when I asked to get my job shifted to Air Force Academy that he said, "No, I'm not going to let you change your AFSC, your job. No, because you're in a critical field." He said, and he was willing. He said, "I'm not going to block any of these Pentagon orders, even though I don't like you going, but I want to stay in good favor," right? Because he has a plan.
Oh, yeah. Right? He has a plan. Yeah.
And people have long memories.
That's true. And if it's coming down from the Pentagon, they know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. So
yes,
you
they
definitely
do.
want to stay on that right side.
Yeah, you want to stay on the right side of that. So, yeah.
Keeping on the military theme a little bit, because we got this thing going on right here.
Man, so, can we talk some basketball? God,
I was going to say that. That was my next question. My next question is, so which athlete or what type of team really reminds you of a military team?
Good question.
Football. It's football. That's more regimented, and the athletes great deal more discipline. Your jobs, knowing your roles, all those things. Where basketball, you could be an individual within that. And when I worked with Air Force track and field, Alonzo Babers was on there. He was a gold medalist in the LA games, right? Was that 88, 86 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, 86 games in LA. So he was on the Air Force team. He was a pilot in the Air Force. Alonzo Babers was.
Okay.
And so, that there were that level of athlete, performing. And this, Charles, there's a lot of amazing athletes that are in the military.
Absolutely. Some of the best in the world.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I think, when I got out and I worked the Eagles training camps when I got back to Philly. Then I was, doing high school football. St. Joe's didn't have football. They had basketball was their main sport, and then going on to the NBA. But then fast forward to Nike, and I got an opportunity to work with a lot of elite level athletes there. But I would say, football players, they have to be disciplined, but they're more like, a regiment, a squadron, right? The way they move them around, the way they have to be where they're supposed to be, following orders, knowing your role, all those things. So I think and football has always been my first love. Right. It's the first sport I played and, as a team sport, growing up and stuff. And so I've always loved football. It's always been something that I'll gravitate to. Then the global game of football, soccer is my second one, then basketball. So isn't that interesting that I end up doing the basketball thing, but my first two are the footballs, right? That's my thing.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. You mentioned that the elite athletes in the Air Force. I had a stint at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base.
Davis-Monthan.
I was
wow.
I was a performance coach for PJs, for pararescue. And shout out to my PJs out there, 305, 306 Squadron. If you guys see this, those guys are treated like athletes. At that particular time, it was Guardian Angel, POTF, Preservation of the Force and Family. I was a part of that inaugural group coming in of strength coaches, athletic trainers, physical therapists, the whole nine. And they really, the Air Force really treated those guys like athletes. I mean, our weight room had woodway treadmills, watt bikes, turf, all the rogue, everything. And from what I was told, the Air Force put $1 million into each PJ. And like more than the regular airmen. And I remember when I went to Davis-Monthan, I called Charles, told him what I was doing. I was like, first of all, I'm from Texas, but out here in Arizona, it's hot. It was hot. It was hot.
It's kind of hot in Arizona.
Yeah, different kind of hot. And then I got my secret, clearance because working with PJs. They're doing all top secret special operations stuff. And Air Force having elite athletes, outside of the sports we see, they have some of the most superior athletes in their special operations.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, once again, these are individuals that are wired a bit differently. And you, Evarist, working with, athletes that are playing collegiate sports, professional sports, that this is just a different breed of person. And their mindset, their approach, their physicality, their willingness to endure pain, all the things that they're capable to do to perform at a high level consistently. But here's the difference. A PJ, it's life or death.
Yeah.
The stakes are much higher than a win or a loss.
Yeah. You make a mistake as a PJ and that's it.
So that's very different stakes. And I think that's what people tend to not understand when they're lifting a weight, when they're running on a treadmill, when they're doing core work, when they're doing deadlifts, whatever, dude, that could save their life or someone that they're working with. So a matter of focus and intention is very different, right? Than worrying about, hopefully we got the right game plan against this team and I better get my head in the book and study that film and all that. Shoot, they better be like, dude, if you ain't got my back, you ain't going on this mission because I got to trust you. Mm-hmm. So we use those analogies in sports, but they're drawn from military life. where the stakes are real, right? And the cost is your life. It's a very different kind of an athlete and mindset and approach. And so I think, you know, all sports people want to, you know, and business, right? They use those analogies and metaphors all the time. But to get a chance to actually witness and watch them do their work, I think they would really benefit from that kind of an experience to really understand these aren't just casual terms. Like, there are high stakes involved. It is life or death. So the work that you were doing with them and helping them to be prepared for whatever mission or things they were working on, when I know once it kind of, you like realize like, wait, they might not come back.
Yeah, and
you raised your game too, right?
Yeah, and I actually realized that, like, one day that the guys would come in to work and they would just wear cargo shorts and t-shirts and have alcohol in there. And I'm like, I remember calling Charles. I'm like, Charles, like, do you think they got to wear the blue uniform every day? And Charles, I remember Charles told me, he was like, man, those dudes are special. Those dudes have such a high stress job that the military really gives them a pass because, you know, all the training they do. I mean, jumping out of helicopters, planes, high altitude training, water training, blah, 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 blah. List goes on. Paramedic training. It's like they do. Once I started to work with them, I found out they're like a SEAL, they're a Thor 3, they're a Green Beret, all in one person. Yeah, and it's just crazy. So if anybody
they have to make special provisions for them. And it was a similar thing, Charles can attest to this, for people that were 208s, language people that went to DLI. So they treated that place like it was a college campus. So you weren't really in the military then because they didn't want you to wash out. They didn't want you to fail because you've already been identified as someone rare, and we got to find a way to keep you here. So we're going to change the dynamic here. So I was going to school with CIA agents, special forces, military attaches, people you never really knew their real name, right? And we were all going to school together, all branches. And it was really loose there. And they had to keep it that way. And it was one of those things that we have to get you through this 47 weeks of training. 47 weeks. My schooling, 47 weeks, no English is spoken 12 to 14 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
then you go to the military training thing at Goodfellow. So that could be another 4 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months of more training. So you literally go for like a year and a half before you even get to your job.
How many languages do you speak?
So Serbian, Croatian, Czech, German. I can read Russian.
Wow.
Black man from Philly. What am I going to do with those languages?
And you have to stay current on them too. So it wasn't like you had to learn them and you forget them. You had to stay current.
Yes, you had proficiency tests all the time to make sure that you weren't dropping off. You couldn't fall off. You couldn't fall off. Because wait, if I fall off and miss that one code word, stuff's gone. It'll be scorched earth.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Charles.
Charles, you be on them headphones. Did he say right or left? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Dude, just shoot it somewhere.
Shoot. Switching gears a little bit, we'll get it back to current events. You know, I'm in the military. You know, I have a lot of Caucasian friends that are in the military, and honestly, right now, like Ever said, they're struggling. You know, they're struggling to find their place in this movement with Black Lives Matter and all these changes that we're seeing. What do you say to our Caucasian friends on their place right now, and how can they help with the movement for equality?
So, especially in the military, so you know the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force is Black right now, right?
Chief Wright.
I get my Air Force times. Come on,
yeah.
So,
he is. Chief Wright.
So, right,
Chief Wright,
right, which is amazing. And when he even admitted that he could do more. Right. And so when you think about the highest enlisted ranking person in the Air Force, a Black man who says he could do more. Now we're looking at individuals who've not been invested in it and not had to live through it, and they're trying to accelerate their learning, right, overnight. Listen, slow down. No one's expecting you to know 400 years worth of what we've had to endure overnight. So I think listening a lot is very important. There's a lot of resources out there. There's some really amazing individuals who are dropping knowledge that is of value. And I just think that you have to ask for resources. Find those places where you can have trusted resources to start to have your education around it. And then you can ask questions versus so just tell me what to do. Well, I need to know where you're landing at. I need to meet you where you are. Right. So why don't you go do some homework and then come back with some questions? And, you know, one of the things that we're all speaking from is knowing and living it, right? We don't necessarily have all the answers to the history of it because we've been living it. And so I think that there's some amazing experts out there within the Black community who are scholars in it. And so I look to those individuals too, right? And so the more that we are paying attention to the voices that are out there, I can't cite the names right now. I'll send them to you afterwards of people that I follow. But I just think that it's being someone who, you know, having the attitude, I only know what I don't know, right? And I'm willing to learn. And I think that's really what's going to serve you best right now is admitting you don't know and then have a willingness to learn, right? And then truly put an invested amount of time in learning and then asking questions of that.
Overseas Basketball Connection is an app and platform that connects the pro basketball player to the pro basketball team without having an agent, keeping them coins in your pocket. Normally, when a player wants to play pro, they go hire an agent, sit on their couch, and hope the agent's out there working hard for them, not knowing if the agent's putting in their work, contacting teams, or putting them on the back burner. With OBC, we give the player the power to have their career in the palm of their hands. With our app, players can check out live openings from teams around the world and send their game film and stats straight to the team in seconds with the push of a button, cutting out the middleman agent. No Referees Podcast and OBC have teamed up to bring you an exclusive offer. This month only, you'll get to sign up for free. Tell all your Hooper friends, your sons, daughters, cousins, it doesn't get any easier to live out your dreams with OBC. Overseas Basketball Connection, #1 source for players to play basketball overseas. So, Mr. Carroll, I've been on that Delta plane. I'd have been in the FBO. I'd have seen what it's like behind the scenes. The getting the U-Haul with the 1,000 bags, you know, the multiple buses. Give me the craziest story you've seen behind the scenes. It just from maybe somebody spending money on some this, or seeing a guy get cussed out and film. Give me one story that sticks out of your mind, because I got one story I'll tell you from when I was in San Antonio with Greg Popovich, and then and then we'll go from there.
That's a whole nother podcast. So,
hey, look, I know you know all the bodies buried, so hey, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, one story.
Give me one.
So here's the funniest thing, because I still have lots of friends in the league who are in roles that they know where all the bodies are buried, but I'm now kind of their counselor, right? So they call me, oh, this joker, right? I gotta tell you something, right? So I know even current stuff, right? Which is crazy. So when I was there, I would say, okay, so we were going to Denver. This was a funny story. So we're going to Denver, and so I don't know if you've flown into Denver, but when you hit those air pockets, and your plane rock, right?
Oh my gosh, the worst. Yeah. Get between the Rocky Mountains?
Yes. So we're flying to Denver, and I can say the names because this is a funny story. So we're flying to Denver, we start hitting these pockets, right? And you can see we got some scary flyers on our team, right? So they kind of looking, and then I see somebody unbuckle their belt. They get up and they sit next to me, right? I'm like, why are you sitting next to me? If we go down, I know you can help me. I'm like, dude, we done. If we go down, we done. No, you know what to do. I'm sitting next to you. So we bounce. It's bad turbulence, right? You can see people kind of looking at each other, pulling a little tighter on their seatbelt. And we hit this one pocket where like everyone's things stay up, but the plane goes down and everything meets again, right? Vernon Maxwell. Oh my gosh. He starts breaking into prayer. Lord of Jesus. It's gonna take us. Oh my God, somebody save us. And the coach goes, you're the last one he listening to right now. You're not the one that should be praying over us.
We had Mario Ellie on the podcast. He talked a lot of good stuff about Vernon Maxwell.
Vernon Perm. So we was watching Friday a lot. So he was Perm. He was Big Perm. That was his nickname. Yeah, we watch Friday all the time. That's Perm. I still call him Perm to this day. Right?
So give me an AI story.
Let's see. The night that he was going to, okay, this is a good one. So many people don't know that Allen Iverson is an accomplished artist, like a brilliant artist. I mean, literally, he could stand, look at you, and draw a caricature while he talking trash the whole time. This is what I think of you. This is how you look. Damn. Right? Yeah. So on the back of the whiteboard, he would draw a caricature of one of the coaches. And then they would go through, this is a game plan and everything. And then he would flip it over when they would leave. This is what I think of coach today, right? And oh my God, he had some of the funniest pictures. This guy, he was so talented. But he would draw a picture. So everybody would be waiting for the unveil, like after every home game, right? The coach would come in, talk. Okay, let's go, right? He'd walk out. Everybody's just waiting for the unveil. And coach would leave him and go, here you go. And he would flip it over. And people were like, and they would fall out. He was so talented. So talented. And I was on the bench the night he crossed Jordan, just FYI. Wow. So, yes. I was on the bench that night, too. So
the last dance hit home for you, huh?
Oh, in a big way. And I've had a chance to do some work with Michael Jordan and the Hornets. And when they were actually switching from being the Bobcats to the Hornets, I actually worked with him and his leadership team on the culture and how they would shift over, right, and what that would look like. So I actually got a chance to spend some time with him that way.
So we can.
I didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up either, because he can hold a grudge like no other. That is true. Everybody's seen The Last Dance. He's still holding grudges.
Yeah. One thing I saw that you recently posted was you got a special kit for your room keys and your bag tags. I've been on the road in the NBA, and that's just NBA, but you also mentioned for your business trips. You travel over the world on business trips. If you had to estimate, how many room keys and bag tags do you got?
It's impossible. So wait, okay. Wait. I'm going to walk away real quick. I'm going to just grab one bag. So that trunk right back here behind me is full. That trunk right there where the book is sitting on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's full. But I'm going to grab something and I'm going to blow your mind real quick. 1 second.
Okay. All right.
30 seconds later.
Okay.
Hey!
Whoa!
Damn, I was not expecting that.
Wait, so this is just, that trunk is full. And this is literally like full.
What is that, a mesh bag?
This
is just a trash bag.
All right, reach in there, and pull one out, no look style. Pull it out and give me a story for that. Give me a story from that trip.
Where's this at? Let me see. Where's this? DTW. Where is that?
Hold on, I'll look it up for you real quick.
Detroit. It's Detroit.
Give me the Detroit story. What's the date on it? What's the date on it?
Oh, let's see. When is this? This is, wow, New Year's Day.
All right, there we go.
No. This is October 9th. 2019. I think that long ago.
I was like, yeah, I want to hear that
more recent.
Yeah, give me reach around there.
Let's see here. Oh, that's Denver. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's Austin. No.
Right. Keep it weird.
I'm trying to see if I can get one of these.
Weird in Austin and Portland.
Oh yeah, we own that. Let's see. Oh, that's funny. Look, there's San Antonio.
All right, give us a San Antonio story. Charles is in San Antonio right now. I was a Spurs guy.
Yeah, I'm in San Antonio.
Let's see.
Shout out to San Antonio Riverwalk.
Riverwalk, right?
210.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
210. Let's see what year this is. What year is this? I don't see it on here. This is U.S. Airways. They don't give you that information. Yes, they do. Oh, this is 2009.
All right, here we go. 2009, U.S. Airways. Where were you coming from?
I'm sure this is a speaking event.
All right, here we go.
I wasn't doing it. Yeah, it's a speaking event for sure.
Yeah, you were already at Nike at this time.
So we probably, what's so interesting, because if I remember, that was like for, I want to say it was like a nursing conference there.
Oh, that I would never thought.
A convention center, right? So a nursing conference there. And so I actually got to talk about my Air Force time a bit, because I hadn't been back to San Antonio for a minute.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and this is Military City, USA, right here.
Yeah, so it was actually nice. And then what was crazy, remember the Spurs used to play out of the football stadium. They didn't have their own arena, right? Alamo Dome, right? So you used to drive your bus down into the Alamo Dome, up to the court.
Yep, right there to the court. Right, you get out the bus, right to the
right to the court, which is crazy. Yeah, because they didn't have their arena that they have now.
Right.
So I was actually telling people, going through basic training, the Alamo Dome. But my athletic trainer, he actually drove. He drove down from San Angelo to come and say hello to me. So we've been friends. Randall Gene Matthews, Randy and I have been friends since 1986 when I arrived there in San Angelo at Goodfellow Air Force Base. And he's one of the stories. My claim to fame is I didn't mess you up, right? So that's what right? So Randy and I have stayed friends since 1986, and any of my success that I had, beyond just being an athletic trainer, I always, showed love back to him. And so we've stayed friends all these years because Randy gave me a chance. He could have said no to me. Right. He could have said, you have a job, you're in the Air Force. Now, I don't think that's going to work out. But he said, I'm not going to tell you no, but these are the things you're going to have to do. It's not going to be easy. So San Antonio, for sure, Randy came to say hello to me. I know that for sure, because anytime I was in Dallas, he would actually scold me if I didn't tell him I was coming to Texas. And he had to find out from somebody else. He would always say, don't make me find out that you're in my state, because I can come see you anywhere you are in the state, I'll come. So he's always been good like that. And then wait, and my boy, Patrick P.D. Hunt, he's the first person's ankle I ever taped. Louisiana rap, those cloth raps, right? He was a freshman at Angelo State, a linebacker. We've been friends ever since that first day we met, right? And he always says this, that first tape job, it was bad, dude. It was bad.
Give you a hard time.
And I came back because I didn't want to blow your dream. He said, you're welcome. He said, I could have blew your whole dream up right there. We've been friends ever since. I watched him, with his daughters. I'm now an encourager and a mentor for his daughters.
Wow.
So we've been friends since 1986.
So hey, that may be something you need to add to the Katalyst series. Maybe do reach in the bag and then tell a story. You know what I'm saying? Reach in the bag and tell a story. That's good. That's cool right there, man.
That's not bad. I got plenty of them. Believe me.
Tell us what keeps you going. What keeps your drive going? How are you motivated now in life? What's motivating you?
So Miss Lane, who is my chief encouragement officer, my best friend's mom, she became
shout out to Norman. Shout out to Norman.
Yes, so Norman was and Norman. So here's the thing: a lot of people don't know. So Norman got killed in a car accident when he was 27.
Wow.
I was in the Air Force then. I flew back from Germany, Hahn Air Base, which is closed now, to support the Lanes. And Miss Lane was so thrilled that I came back, and I said, Miss Lane, don't you worry, I'm going to make you proud. And that was my promise to them. And as she responded, you're our son now. And so that became like the cementing of our bond. And so my relationship with Miss Lane was 46 years. She's been passed away for 6 years now. But I promised her, I'll be the next you. I'll be that encourager for others. And so that's the thing that keeps me going, is that I'm the 2.0 version of Ms. Lane, right? I'm chief encouragement officer globally, right? I've got this at-large ability with social media and platforms and technology. And so that's what I'm doing. And that's what calls me each day to show up and wake up, right? And do what I need to do is I'm carrying on her legacy.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. That's awesome.
I got to do it to you, Mr. Carroll. I got to do it.
Don't say no Dallas stuff.
No. I told my brother I wasn't going to do it, but.
What? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Wait.
Ah!
Did you really?
You owe me a drink. No, I had to coin you, Mr. Carroll.
Why you coin me like that? You know that's not even fair. I have to have one available too, and then it's more like who does it first.
I know we talked on the phone, when a couple weeks ago, and I remember when I called my brother, I said, "Man, I need you to get on this podcast with me."
But then we hijacked it.
No, but that's all good. It's all good. Hey, look, I got plenty more in the chamber. You know what I'm
saying? Charles, he didn't know that's how we do.
That's how we do, man. It's a fraternity. It's a brotherhood.
Coins on me. He dropping coins on me, demanding drinks. You know I'm gonna send you some thunder chicken. That's what you get.
Oh man!
Hey, we're gonna
throw it up now.
Look, me and Charles gonna make a special up to the PDX. 503. We're gonna come up there, special trip just to come check you out. So
absolutely.
What was that conversation like? Leaving the 76ers, going to Nike. Kind of walk us through that whole process of. What made you realize, I want to go work for the swoosh? And before you answer that question, I know that Nike mentality and that fraternity because I used to work at Nike Town when I was in grad school, Nike Town, New York City, the old one. So I know what it was like to just to be in that fraternity. And I wish I was working at Nike Town when it was cold.
Did you get your swoosh tattoo? Did you get a swoosh tattoo?
No, I didn't get a swoosh tattoo. But I was working there with Kohan, so I had a bunch of Kohan and stuff like that. And I wish I would have, kind of like stayed the course with that because a lot of my friends from Nike are global and doing social great things. Nike takes such great care of their people. Such amazing. So just talk about just when you got that opportunity to sit down and decide. I remember me and you talked about it. It was a big decision for you and your boys. Just take us through that process.
So leaving the Sixers, that wasn't a tough decision because there was an opportunity for me to be around my sons more. And I was a single dad at that point, and I was juggling 2 sitters, and that was really challenging. And I would come home and feel like I wasn't present enough for them. So that wasn't a tough decision to do that. And my oldest son actually made it really easy. Because as I explained that we've got this opportunity to move to Portland, Oregon, and I don't know how you guys are going to feel. And I'm like, I had this whole plan, thing to talk to my sons, right? Real serious. And my oldest son said, Dad, I got one question. I'm like, okay, what? Do we get free gear? I'm like, yeah. He goes, let's go.
Get that swoosh account.
That was already, it was done, right? So that made it really easy because they were willing to move out to Portland. And so 97, I moved out here and, I spent 7 years at Nike and to get an opportunity to basically create my own position there and work all over the company and work with some of the most amazing thinkers and creatives and just talented people was really, I think, that big catalytic moment, right, to use that phrase for me, right? So it sparked a lot of things in me. And I always say Nike let me fly my freak flag, right? Nike let me really flex. Nike let me do all these things that I wasn't able to do in the NBA. You know how that is, Evarist. Stay in your lane, do your job. You get threatened. You know how many people want your job? Do your job, right? So that's all they wanted you to do. When I would keep saying, I could do more. But at Nike, when I said I could do more, they said, well, go, do it. And so that's what I really reveled in there. And, to get to a point where I have, a standing meeting with Phil Knight, right, monthly to meet with him. And he started calling me the mayor of Nike. He said, I might be CEO and chairman, but Kevin, you're the mayor here. You know this place. So you can fill me in on how people are feeling, what's going on. So I really had some special friendships and special relationships there. But when I got to that point when I was torn between leaving or staying, I sat down with some of my main mentors there. And then I sat down with Phil Knight. And I still remember him saying to me very clearly, I don't let talent leave here. And then he paused and he said, you'll be the third person I tell they should go. We would be selfish to keep you. You have bigger work to do. And we'll be proud of the work you're doing. So imagine that send off, right? And getting that blessing.
Feel nice.
From right?
Awesome.
And so leaving from there, I'm like, well, I'm good. Right? I'm good. Like he's telling me I need to go, right? Go forth and prosper. So I really had this sense of let's go. And it's been 16 years now. I've been on my own since 2004, 16 years. I do plenty of projects with them, but the whole, the industry, Evarist, everybody kind of just moves around. So I've worked with every brand that's here in town and stuff, Adidas, Under Armour, Columbia, Nike. I mean, I've had a chance to work with the Blazers, the Timbers, so University of Portland, Portland State, and then, all over the country, getting a chance. And then you look at it even globally, getting a chance to do lots of things. But he was right? My work was bigger than there. And I needed to have the ability to stretch that way. And so I've always been grateful to Nike. I've always been an ally, right, and a believer, because that place really, once again, Nike and the Air Force are probably two of the most important, moments in my journey. And San Angelo, I put those three, right? San Angelo, the Air Force, and my time at Nike. Probably the three most important moments in my life to allow me to be doing what I'm doing right now.
That's great. I'm a little jealous, man, because I know what it's like to to get that swoosh account, that swoosh.com, and you probably. Unlike somebody like myself that's out of the loop, you probably still got that top secret. That top secret.
Oh yeah. I don't need no count number. Yeah. I got digits. I got people's digits. Yeah. I could say I got my Travis Scotts, absolutely, and the low tops, which are even more exclusive.
What pair out of your time 7 years at Nike? What's the pair of exclusive shoes that you got that you just say you'll never sell or people want from that you got?
Those Travis Scotts.
The Travis Scott, not the Red Octobers or anything like that.
No, because they're low. So I always like nothing but low tops, right? And they have to fit a certain way. So I'm real picky with my shoes. So I wasn't wearing what everybody wears all the time. So I've always been looking for, they need to be low tops, they need to be this and this. So my buddy, he runs all the Jordan footwear. So anytime he would see low tops that he thought I would like and he'd get a sample, he set them aside for me and he'd take a pic and say, you like these? Because sample size. I'm sample size too, Evarist.
Right.
Yeah. Sample size. You get them all.
Come on now.
Test wear.
What you know about that?
Test wear shoes, huh?
So I can get some one-offs for you. Right? That's how I was wearing the one-offs.
Yeah, well,
I'm sample size 9, right?
Oh man, I'm size 12. My
you
size.
Out of luck.
I'm out of luck.
I'm 13. They ain't got nothing in my size.
Yes, they do for basketball. That's a sample size.
Oh yeah, basketball.
But that's about it.
My other quick Air Force story. Real quick, I'm gonna give you. I had two. The Davis Monts was one. I gotta ask him. I couldn't get in the Air Force, so I had to do a other little thing. Charles, you remember when I went to where did I go to? What base was that? I was in the Army. I had to
Fort
go.
Bragg, North
Fort
Carolina.
Bragg, yeah, I was at Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg, and
that's a jump school, right? That's a jump school.
Yeah. So I was.
That's airborne. Yeah.
So
airborne.
And I was what's the name of the test that y'all take every year, Charles? The push up.
The PT test. PT test. Yeah.
So one of my jobs, Mr. Carroll, was to as a strength coach would go in there and reevaluate how they do the PT test, how they the push up, because they were starting to integrate more females. And remember that, Charles?
And, I remember that.
So having to set up tire flips and casualty drags, litter carries, things of that nature.
Fireman's carry,
all that kind of stuff to simulate on the battlefield in case somebody goes down and stuff. So that was another little Air Force little story I got. So
you should have been grabbing more running for your MRE or something.
I remember the first. Hey, that's crazy. You said MRE. I remember the first time I had an MRE. I called Charles. I said, "Yo, I'm about to eat this MRE. How do I?
You ain't get the right one, probably.
I don't know. I just grabbed one, and then
you gotta get
come on up.
You gotta get the jalapeno cheese now. That's a must.
Wait, and the chocolate chip bar.
Yeah.
So when you would open up your bag, Charles, that was the first thing you look at, like, damn.
I wanted the M&Ms.
You'd be mad, you'd be salty, right? Then you start bargaining, right?
Yep.
I remember the first time I had a little MRE. I was like, man, how do I do this thing? This is weird. I'm sitting in my office, not in the field. So I'm just like, how do I do this? It's so weird. The way the heating element works is
when you hungry.
Look, when you're hungry.
That was a culinary delight.
Yeah, it's like a steak dinner.
It was
like a steak dinner.
Like, you were savoring that stuff. You sitting there, oh man, that's so good.
Hey, Mr. Carroll, man, you know you're my brother in arms. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing for this country. Thank you for what you did for this country. And we hope that you continue to be an advocate for anybody who needs motivation. And continue to be an advocate for the Air Force and Nike. And we just thank you so much for your time, sir. We appreciate you. You always be my brother.
Good. It's all good. No, listen, that being in the military that's a very, very unique, connection and fraternity. It just is. It's a very special one. And I think that, when you get to meet somebody, it's like you've known them forever, right? If
Absolutely.
they were in it, right? It just is. It's just that way. And you're quick friends. And I love the fact that, I don't get to bump into a lot of military people. And so anytime I do, it's always brings joy, right? I always say my heart smiles because, my time in the Air Force, once again, was formative years for me. It was really, really important. And so to meet another service member, especially from the force, right? The right force.
Oh, right? Yeah, the right force.
Right force, the only force, right? The only one.
Only force.
Right? Yes, I just had to say, it does my heart good because it doesn't happen that often. So it's a great way to end the week, right? To spend some time with you. And then Evarist, the fact that we've got, all these friends, that are in the trade, right, of human performance and knowing that you spent some time with Air Force people and help to make them better is really important too. And I think, for all your listeners and the people that are tuning in, I think it's important for everybody to remember, just do your part. And this is my quote, right? My actions may seem small, but their collective impact will be great. So just do your part, right? Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just do what you do and do it exceptionally well and repeat and repeat and repeat. Just keep going. And that's all we ask of anyone. And I think the more that you recognize, if everybody does their part collectively, we can win the day. But we're counting on you, right?
Yeah, appreciate that. Mr. Carroll, can you give the No Referees podcast a quick shout out for me?
So here we go. Wait. I gotta summon it up. Summon it up. If you are not listening to No Referees podcast, you're not on my squad. You are not in my universe. If you want to get enlightened, if you want to get educated, if you want to be entertained, No Referees podcast is where you need to be tuning in. So you need to raise your game, get your listening up. No Referees podcast is where you need to go. And if you don't know, now you know.
I appreciate it. Hey, one Eagles question. Lincoln Finance.
Don't do something mean.
Hold on, no, this is a simple one. Lincoln Financial Field or the Vet?
Oh, Lincoln Financial. That's like going to the Ritz.
Yeah.
The vet was grimy. The vet was grimy, dog. Woo.
All right, hold on.
That was not. No. You can't listen. You can't go to Lincoln Financial, right? And then go back to the vet? No. That's like staying at a 1-star and then being at the Ritz in LA. No, you can't compare that. No, the vet was a rough spot.
All right, rough there. I got one more for you, Philly cheesesteaks. My friend said.
I'm telling you now.
Hold on. I got. She gave me two. She gave me two spots.
No, I'm gonna squash it. I'm gonna squash it.
Hold on. She said.
Go ahead.
My friend Jennifer Lewis from grad school. She said, ask him if he likes Ganos or Maxes.
Neither.
Whoa.
I don't even know. Listen, it's either Abner's or Larry's. If you notice, they're always some guy's name, right? Right?
Yeah.
You should know, if you from Philly, you don't go to Pat's or Geno's. I've never been there. Never. Wow. First of all, you ain't putting no cheese whiz on my chicken cheesesteak hoagie. No. No. Abner's or Larry's are my two spots, right? Or for what is my other thing. Fingers, wings, and other things. FWOT, for what, right? So what you know about that?
For what? That's a good one right there.
Well,
that's how we do it, right? You want to hear my order? Chicken cheesesteak, hoagie, salt, pepper, extra ketchup. Go. You gotta order like that. You can't be like, so tell me how do you
That'll be me.
Next.
That would be me.
You gotta step up ready to order.
Be ready.
See, I'll be that person get no onions and no bell pepper.
Oh no, so you'll be a problem. You'll be a problem. They'll be like, next. Yeah, you hear people practicing. You hear people that are new actually practicing in the line.
Oh, wow.
Because they know the pressure's on. Yeah. Cheeseburger. No. Next, right? No soup for you, right?
Well, Mr. Carroll, thank you very much for spending some time with us, my brother.
Absolutely.
This was awesome. This is one of our best podcast shows we've ever had. Everyone, please go out there and follow Mr. Carroll on all of his social media pages at KC Katalyst, all over the place, all over the universe. This is our brother, our new friend of the family, Mr. Kevin Carroll. Thank you.
I appreciate y'all, man. Godspeed, peace and play.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the No Referees Podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to this show and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on social media at No Referees Pod. Till the next episode, we out.